Hello, everybody.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of
Bravado Talk.
I am Eddie.
And I'm Anthony.
And today we're going to go ahead and talk about
Educated Latinas.
Episode 6.
Now, we're not Latinas. We're
not. We're Latinos.
Right. So for that, we brought in two special guests. We have...
Hi, everyone. This is Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. I am Lauren.
Welcome, guys. And we want to kind of just talk to you guys because you guys are in the educational field.
Mm-hmm.
So to start off this podcast, we want to kind of just get to know you guys.
Okay, cool. So I am Vanessa. I was born in Tepic, Nayarit, Mexico. I came to the United States when I was about 4 years old, a little bit before starting kindergarten. So the beginning of my educational experience in life here in the U.S. was a little challenging, to say the least, because I couldn't really communicate with my teachers or some of my classmates. I am very lucky to have a very supportive family, and the teachers were incredible, so they helped me, learn English pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
For the majority of my life, I have been raised by my mom. She's a single mom. She was a very, very young single mom, but she always was, cheering on for me, providing the best opportunities for me. And because of this, I was also very lucky to have a close relationship with my grandparents, my tias, my cousins, so I grew up very close with my family. I went to public school throughout kinder through 12th grade, and I love school, I love learning, and I love education.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes, and I am Lauren. I was born and raised in Carson, California, around Torrance area, or what we call the South Bay. I had the privilege of being able to go to private school. That was super important to my mom at the time. So I started at a private school, and then when I was about 10 or 11 years old, my parents ended up getting divorced. So I became a child of a single parent who, again, kind of like Vanessa's family, supported us a lot. Education was her number one priority, so it was our number one priority growing up, and I was really blessed to be able to continue my private school education from kindergarten until 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of sacrifices, a lot of hard work, but again, that support from my mom and my family as we kind of trekked this new journey of private school and all that kind of stuff was really, really beneficial and helpful throughout this whole process
Mm-hmm.
of everything.
How did you like private school?
For me, it was all I knew in my life.
Uh-huh.
So, I don't know any different. I am a very, I like small community and small, groups, and stayed very comfortable. So that's all I knew all of my life. And my friends did go to public school, and they weren't, mean or anything, but I heard stories, and I got scared. So I was that scared private school kid. But I think I liked it. I think the main difference between me and any of my other friends was I was taught about God in school.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, other than that, it wasn't a huge difference.
Right.
Any extracurricular activities that you guys were into or a part of?
During what part of your life?
During high school?
The full 4 years that I was in high school, I was always in a dance class. I love dancing. I've been doing it my whole life. I was involved in a journalism club. I was involved in Key Club.
Key Club?
What is Key Club? I heard
Key
about
Club?
it. I never knew what it was.
This is the first for me.
You guys haven't heard about that?
Did you?
No.
It's even Key Clubs at universities. Really?
My brother tried to be a part of one, but I left him out.
Honestly, I don't want to share false information because I can't remember too much about it.
Fake news?
I just remember that it was a club that I was a part of where we did volunteering. Oh yeah, guys, I don't want to spread lies. So I just remember I did a lot of volunteer work through it. It was a lot of fun. I was also just in a bunch of just random little clubs on campus that me and my friends, because basically at your school you could just get with a group of friends. I can't remember the number, but if you had enough students and then you had a teacher advisor, you could make it. So I was in a makeup club and in Teens for Global Impact Club, just a bunch of random things that I was interested in when I was in high school.
You're making moves so young in life. Oh my goodness.
The biggest thing, sorry, how could I forget this? The biggest thing that I was involved in when I was in high school is it was a class technically called Character Leaders, and that one was all about service work. I loved that class. That was definitely the defining experience of my high school experience.
Why honestly, I didn't even join anything in high school. I mean, all I did was sports. So like, what motivated you to join these clubs? Like, did somebody tell you to, or?
No, nobody told me to. I just think it was, I don't know, just something to do, things I was interested in. At my school, it's kind of like, I can't remember the schedule now, but I remember every year, honestly, the schedule changed for some reason at my school. But there were some years where there was this, like, break that we had in the middle of the school day for, like, 30 minutes. And so we would, like, meet with our clubs then. Some of the clubs were after school. I don't know. I guess I was just interested in a lot of things. And I was very lucky to not have to work when I was in high school because my mom stressed to me, that she was going to work hard so that I could enjoy my, experience in school. So I just took advantage of that opportunity and I just joined things that I was interested in, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I wasn't very a sporty person, so I didn't join sports.
Well,
But dancing is a sport.
I was going to say, you wouldn't consider dancing a sport?
Dancing is a sport.
I'm definitely kind of like that. I'm not a sports person. I played sports as a kid. I got hit in the face too many times and I was like, this isn't for me. So in high school, the only thing I was consistent with in my life was choir. So I was a choir nerd. I don't know how to read music, but I can like kind of listen and kind of, I don't think
Glee Club?
It wasn't called Glee Club. We called it concert choir. But we did some I think we did some fun stuff. In my freshman year, I wasn't a part of that specific choir. I was a part of another choir. But they did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, cool.
It was super cool. But that kind of got me.
Mamma
inspired
mia,
to go.
I'm sorry, I just had to.
Kind of like that.
Did you know I actually did choir too when I was in 5th grade?
No way.
Yeah.
Anthony, you got pipes?
What?
You got pipes. Do you have pipes?
Yeah,
I think
guess.
you barely even knew English. How are you?
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know any English. The instructor, dude, honestly, I don't know how I did it, but the teacher would just be like, Anthony, all I would hear was, and I'd be like, all I knew was just, okay, sing that because everybody was doing the same, so I was just singing it.
Were you humming along?
No, I was actually singing it. No, I'm not going to sing right
choir,
now.
Though. Like, you could sing any language, and as long, like, your teacher would teach you how to, like, pronounce the vowels. Like, I sang Latin and, like, Gregorian chants and stuff because, again, private school Catholic kid. But, like, it's so fun because you don't have to know the language to be able to sing it beautifully and, like, connect with someone, which I think was really cool.
I was so scared.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything.
I was a choir kid, and then my last year I joined art club. I'm not artistic. I mean, like, I like to be creative and I like to be pretty and, like, aesthetic things, but I'm not, like, I can't draw, paint, like, none of that stuff. But I joined art club because my friends were in it, and they were really good drawers, and, like, I wanted to be supportive of them because they wanted to keep it going. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. But other than that, I was not.
Anthony, what were you a part of?
I was part of the cross country team, the soccer team, and the track team. And I only did band for 2 years.
What did you play?
Oh my! You're gonna ask me that?
Yeah.
You're gonna ask me what I played? I played the clarinet.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Call me Squidward. Whatever. I don't care.
You beat me.
What about you, Eddie? What were you involved in?
In high school, I was part of the chess club. I played
Chess?
band.
What?
Yeah. Chess club, band,
What?
ROTC. And I think that's pretty much it.
That's cool.
I was also part of... No, yeah, I think that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember of anything else.
Hmm.
I mean, I volunteered. I just kicked it around teachers' classrooms, but that was pretty much it.
Hmm. Dude, in band, I felt like such an outsider because, like, everybody was, like, super smart in band. Like, everybody was dedicated to their instrument. They would practice, like, after school. And then there was me, like, I would play sports, and then I would go home and then just do my homework. That's it. So I was always like, you know how it works. I was always the last chair on the band. So
Aww.
yeah, dude, I felt so weird. And then I did try doing it the 4 years, but I had to take a language in order to get to college. So I ended up taking Spanish, and it took one of my classes. So I had to give it up.
I bet that was hard, huh?
Yeah, I guess you're right. The trips.
So back to you, ladies. Going into a transition of high school. Well, not more of a transition, but just talking more about high school. We're going to dig deep on what is your senior year. So if you guys can elaborate more about your senior year and how it was, or what can you remember? SATs, ACTs, anything.
Oh, yeah,
like that.
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say that my senior year, the experience of my senior year began that summer. I was very lucky to be invited to a summer program at Princeton University, and it was an amazing experience. It was a program for journalism because at that time that's what I was really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went over there, had a great experience, and the most amazing part about that program is that at the end you leave with 2 advisors who help you with, getting through your senior year in terms of applying for, college. So when I went back to school and I was starting my senior year, I knew that it was time to grind on those applications because I knew I was going to college. After coming back from that trip, I was shooting for the stars, honestly. Before that trip, I just knew I was going to college. I didn't know where. After coming back, I felt like the opportunities were endless.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started off my senior year. I was already starting to write my personal statements, honestly.
Wow.
I applied for between 15 and 20 schools. I can't remember the exact amount. And I was also part of the International Baccalaureate program at my school. So it was a really, really busy year for me because in order to graduate, because from that program, so you get your high school diploma and then the IB diploma if you pass all your tests and stuff. And you also had to write this thing called the extended essay, which is a research project they make you do. Mine ended up being about 35 pages, which is crazy to think about doing something like that, in high school.
Jeez.
That's like my senior thesis in college. Oh my goodness.
I know. So yeah, my senior year was super busy academically. It was a hard time for me, I would say, at the beginning because I think like in the first week of school, my house got broken into, and that was really, really traumatizing, and it kind of set me back because it just put me in such a terrible, place. Your home is where you're supposed to feel safe,
Yeah.
and after that's invaded, you just can't feel safe anymore. It takes a while to get,
No, yeah,
used to it.
I feel that because it was my freshman year of high school. We were away in Mexico with my whole family, and we got house invaded. I guess that's what you call it, right?
I think so.
Or
house
robbed,
invasion.
yeah, or
I don't know.
whatever it is. And so, being away from your house and not being to be there, like like a blink of an eye. Yeah, it was just honestly completely devastating because at least for me, I don't know if you felt that way. It's like I felt like I was like, I don't know, like stripped away, like taking everything from me.
Yeah.
It's like starting again at level 0.
Yeah, and I don't think it's so much about the physical things being taken, right? It's like everything physical is replaceable, but it's just the safety of your home, and just knowing that someone went in, and because they went into my bedroom and stole things from my bedroom, and it's just, knowing that a stranger was in my room, it just took away, this sense of security. It took me a long time to not feel scared anymore at my house. But yeah, that honestly like messed me up at the beginning of my senior year. Never in my life had I ever failed a class or a test, homework, anything. I've always been like a really good student. I love education. I love learning. But because that set me back, I had to like rush home because we had to call the police.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it set me back so much that I was basically at the point of failing one of my classes, and it was my senior year, so I knew how important it was that I needed to pass my classes, right? I was trying to get into these big universities. I couldn't have an F. I worked, super hard. I think I ended up passing that class with a C, which is to this day the lowest grade I've ever gotten. And yeah, it just really, it was hard. Definitely my second semester was a lot better. There was, some fun things to look forward to, prom and all those things. And for me, actually, because I was in the IB and AP classes, my school year basically ended like a whole month earlier because that's when I took all my AP tests. So after that, and it was our senior year, right? So our teachers were really lenient. We would do a lot of fun activities. So yeah, the first semester was rough, but the second semester was a lot better. What about you, Lauren?
I think my senior year was, not that I don't remember much of it, but I think kind of like my high school years were really uneventful. A majority of my high school education life was commuting because I lived in Torrance, and then I went to high school in West LA. So that's like a 20-mile drive.
Oh, wow.
So I'd leave at 6:45 every morning. And specifically my senior year, I think, was kind of like finally like, hey, like someone asked me like what are you gonna do for the rest of your life? And I think as a 16 just turned 17-year-old, that's scary to think that like now I have to start thinking what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I felt so overwhelmed because I mean, I had a senior counselor. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of helped me, kind of didn't. I went to a really small high school, so she like knew my name, and my class size was only 76. So like I knew everyone, and like I had all like my friends knowing where they wanted to go, and like all of them were like Ivy Leagues. They were like, I want to go to Stanford, I want to go to Harvard, let me try Yale, you know, UCLA, USC, and like to me I really didn't know. And I just know, like, I had to get good grades if I wanted to, you know, end up in a good school and end up, you know, in the career that I wanted to be in. So I was kind of like, okay, I got to stay on top of it. And what really kind of helped as an incentive was for seniors, we got 10 senior privileges a year that we got to vote on. So one of those senior privileges was that in our second semester, if we could have a 93% or above, we don't have to take the final. They'll just take that grade.
What?
That's nice.
Yeah, that was one of the benefits. So that was one of our privileges out of 10. Hey, the other one was like crazy socks. Okay, so like
socks.
some of them I think were kind of like small because again private school uniforms, like some of them were small victories, but I thought that was a really cool thing. So that really kind of pushed me to do well first semester and second semester, just to like, you know, make sure I get that extra push. And a lot of my teachers were like really lenient and really kind of like comforting to be like, hey, like let's do what we got to do to get you on this track. So A, you don't have to take your final, and B, y'all end up at college somewhere. Yeah, that was kind of like my high school experience. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. My dream ended up being Pepperdine, just for a couple different reasons. It's really nice in Malibu, and
that's right,
my
Malibu.
sister, yeah, it's a real nice campus right next to the beach.
Yeah.
And I have an older half sister that wanted to go there, but she wasn't able to. So I thought, you know, why can't, like, I can go for the both of us. And I was like, okay, cool, I have my school, but I didn't know what I wanted to study yet. And education has always been, you know, I get, like Vanessa, I really like going to school. School was my safe haven. It was my fun place. Like, all my friends were there. I really liked choir, so, like, I got to hang out with all my friends all day, no matter the drive or anything like that. So it was really comforting to me to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that was kind of, like, under the rug. But growing up with a single mom who worked at my senior year, she had 3 jobs to keep my brother and I in school and to keep us afloat. So to me, at some point, I was like, no, I need to make the money back. Like, I felt like I needed to pay back my mom for the sacrifice that she made for us. So I was like, nah, I'm going to be a lawyer. And then literally, like, right before, like, the summer before I ended up going to college, I changed my major from liberal arts to mathematics. But my college application process was kind of, like, on my own. And I ended up just applying to 5 schools. And I was like, these are ones I know about. And I'm just going to put my foot in there and see what happens. And wherever I end up going is where I was meant to be.
So something I forgot to ask you girls was, if you don't mind me asking, what graduation class were you each? Like, what was your graduation year?
From high school?
Yeah.
I graduated in 2015.
And I graduated in 2013.
So
Soy una viejita.
So let me ask you, Vanessa, did you take any ACTs or SATs?
I took the SAT. I think I took it twice because I remember when I applied to colleges, I sent them my cumulative score. I didn't do the best, but I still got into colleges. I didn't take the ACT because after taking the SAT, I was like, oh, heck no, I'm not going to sit down for another standardized test.
Did you take the Casey too or no?
Casey.
Oh, yeah,
The
in
California,
10th grade.
the California high school.
But that was in 10th grade.
Yeah, 10th grade.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, Lauren, because you did go to private school. Did you take the ACT or the SATs?
Yes, I didn't take the California exit exam. I took the PSATs for 3 years, and then our junior year, because after like senior year, most of them are just like, yeah, we prepped you enough. Our junior year, if you got high enough grade, you got a merit scholarship for when you started college, which I think was a really cool opportunity. I never did that well. I also didn't know you could send your cumulatives. I just sent my highest score. My highest score when I went, I think my highest was like a 1530, which is like, it's average. Out of 2,400, that's like pretty average. So I didn't have much hope. But I took it twice, And, like, that was it. And I was like, I'm going to do the minimum right now because I didn't know what else was out there. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to do the minimum to get me into a college so I can keep on trekking along and going.
I don't know about all of you because I know we're all first-gen students here, but even something as simple as the ACT was not simple for me. Like, those preparation books were super expensive. Like, I remember the ones I got, people would donate them to me, let me borrow them, or I would find ones at the garage sales that were like years old. So honestly, for the SATs, I took it twice, but I didn't really study for them. I didn't know how to use those big review books. I just honestly went in both times and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take this test now.
Yeah, that was
the SAT or the ACT? Because there's two, right?
Yeah, there's two. The SAT. Did I say ACT?
No.
Yeah.
No, she said ACT.
SAT?
Yeah.
Did you take the...
I took both.
You took both?
Did you take the KCT or no?
No. No, just the SAT and the ACT.
No, I just took the SAT.
I took the SAT twice because obviously the first
me
time
too.
you always gotta take. I think you gotta take it.
You always gotta take it
You
twice.
don't have to. It's just because you want to try to get a better score.
Yeah.
What did you get?
Dude, I think I got like a 14 something, and then the next time I got a 15 something, and together when I added them, it was like 16. So I mean that's pretty good.
Cumulative? I don't.
Yeah.
What did you get?
I don't remember my individual scores
But if
for
you had
each
to
year.
guess. Uh-huh.
So I don't remember the individual ones, but I know my cumulative was over 1,700.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually.
Word.
Do you know what my brother got? My brother got like 1,700 like the first.
Wow.
Really?
First,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he was really
A girl I
smart.
used to carpool with, she got a 2380.
Oh my
What?
gosh.
I was like, homegirl's gonna go places. I think she also got into like.
You got a 1,500,
Yeah.
Eddie?
Yeah, I remember because I was just like, oh, sweet.
But that's
and then
average,
everybody's
like,
no,
it's-
I got 16. I got 17. I was like, oh.
See, but like 15 was still average. So like to me, I was like, okay, I'm good enough to get into a college. Like I'm
Yeah.
set at least. And then my last semester really helped with my GPA. So
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
Yeah, the GPA came through.
the difference. Did you guys know the difference between the ACT and the SAT?
I don't know.
I was under
forgot.
differently, isn't it?
I was under the impression that the ACT was a little bit more math and science based, and I'm not the best at math and science, so I didn't even try.
That one because the writing portion of my SAT, that was my worst score. I'm not a writer. Again, that's why I chose my major that I chose and studied what I wanted to study because I'm not like reading comprehension scared me. The SAT scared me. Like I prayed. I tried to study, and again, like I felt like I couldn't really prepare.
Yeah,
for
that
a test
I did
that
the
big.
I did the worst on reading. The reading I had like 400, I think. The writings where I got 500, and then math I got 600.
So you took the ACT because you're better at math and sciences than Anthony?
So from my experience, everyone around me, like in high school, was telling me that that I should take both. I honestly can't remember the requirements for college or whatever, but they were pretty much pushing you like take both.
You can submit either or one when you're applying
What
to
was
colleges.
it?
You can submit either your
Oh.
SAT scores or your
I think I
ACT
submitted
scores.
both of them. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I
I
think
think
you can
you
also do
you
both.
can also do
Yeah.
both,
Yeah.
but I think they honestly most of them require now. I think now they're not required anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that-
don't know. I haven't read
so-
up on what's going on now, but
So what I like about the ACT was that if you answered a question and if it was wrong, they wouldn't penalize you for it because that's how the SAT does it. Where if you answer,
yeah, if you get it wrong, they
if you get
penalize
it wrong,
you.
yeah, they penalize you. I'm pretty sure. I think, but one of the things was that it was a little harder. It was more science and
Yeah.
math. Like it went up to trigonometry. I'm
Oh my
pretty sure,
gosh.
and there were science questions, and it was pretty hard. I think the writing part wasn't that bad, but overall I liked the SAT better. Just not the writing and the essay or whatever. But they changed it too, by the way. I don't know. I think
the scoring is a lot more different now.
Yeah,
and the
now
way
it's
it's set
different,
up
so.
and executed is a lot more different than when we were taking it.
yeah. And based on that, how was I mean, you went to UCLA and you went to Laverne. I don't know if you guys expanded on why you guys decided to go into those colleges. So if you didn't, could you please expand on that or?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, at the end of the day, I was really the most concerned about the money. You know,
Mhm,
I think people don't tell you enough.
Yes.
Like, hey, first of all, it's gonna be expensive, and second of all, like that's such a big factor.
Oh, yeah.
We're choosing where you want
Yeah,
to
that's
go
true.
above anything
Exactly,
else.
especially because you're you know, usually 17, 18, 19 years old and you see thousands of dollars and you're kind of like, whoa, like, can I afford this? What's going to happen? No one had talked to me about loans. So in the end, yeah, I was definitely concerned about money. I ended up choosing UCLA because I got a full ride, which I'm very, very thankful for. I also really, really liked the campus. I was able to visit it, and I remember stepping on that campus and feeling like this is where I belong. I don't know. It was just like an instinct, I would say. Yeah, it just felt like I feel like I could be happy here these next few years. Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing was money. And then also the opportunities. I was like, LA is a pretty cool place to live. Like, I would want to spend the next few years of my young adult life in Los Angeles. Yeah, basically money and experiences, I would say.
You visited, right? You visited the campus before you made your decision? Or once you made
there's
your
a thing called Bruin Day where like, if you're accepted, they invite you to come visit it.
Oh, okay.
And so you can, like, take tours of the campus, the dorms, the dining halls, all of the, like, organizations on campus, like, set up tents, like, tents and tables, and you can walk around and learn about different organizations. Yeah, I just liked it. I think that was another thing that I really liked, because since in high school I was involved in so many clubs, I was like, oh, yeah, I want to keep being, like, involved in clubs when I'm in, in college. So I really liked UCLA for those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I think mine was, I took a risk and I committed before I actually stepped foot on my campus at Laverne.
Same,
Oh, wow.
same.
I took a really, really big risk. I mean, one, because I didn't know this, and I was sent, like, I got my acceptance letter, and then, like, a week later I got my financial aid package. And again, like we said, financial aid and being able to afford it is, like, super, super important. So, like, I actually took it to, my guidance counselor my senior year, and was like, oh, like, this is what I got for financial aid. And she was the first one to tell me, like, actually, like, you're one of the best packages I've seen. Like, and I was like, okay. So I didn't get a full ride, but I got, like, I would say about, like, 50% of my tuition taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a matter of, finding other scholarships and stuff to keep me going and pay for the rest of it. And I think part of that really helped out. And I was like, okay. And my mom knows me, and usually if I'm set on something, like, I'll do it. I'm like, okay, it's a good financial aid package, like, let's just, take the risk. And then I went to kind of the same thing. We call it Spotlight Weekend at Laverne because we're the leopards, so, like, the spots and
get it
leopards.
Get it
Yeah. But yeah, so we call it Spotlight Weekend. We get to go, kind of like the same thing. Tents were set up. We got to spend the night in an actual dorm room that we could potentially live in. And I felt that same feeling that Vanessa felt. Like, I stepped on there and I was like, this is home. Laverne is it's in the small town of Laverne. It was one of the first establishments in that city, and it was established in 1891. But, like, it's a small campus. And I came from such small schools that, to me, that small hometown feel was really important to me, especially because it was my first time leaving home for such an extended period of time. I did it at my summer camps, but 2 months doesn't compare to 9 to 10 months out of the year, and even sometimes, like, longer if I had to stay longer.
The next few years of your life, basically.
Exactly. Like, it eventually would morph into years.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, like, hometown, like, feel that I got, and I felt like home. And it really helped that my friend also already, like, was like, oh, yeah, I registered too. And I think that kind of helped push me to be like, yeah, this is where I could be. And I'm really into, like, things are supposed to happen for a reason. So I really feel like when I stepped on there, pre-registered and all that, like, it happened all for a reason. And I think that it really kind of, like, benefited in why I went there.
Yeah, like, for me, once I had already made the decision to go to Cal Poly, like, that was it. Like, I didn't take a tour or anything. The only other time the only time I went and visited the campus and got to know the campus was during my orientation. And even then, I was kind of just like, well, I mean, it's not like I was, because you guys mentioned how you guys felt like it was your school, right? Mm-hmm. You guys felt like that's where you belong. And for me, it was more kind of just like, well, I already said yes. Like, this is it, whatever. And I guess for me, I grew up, I ended up liking that school as I went along.
Oh, like it grew on you?
Yeah, exactly. It grew on me.
So did you say yes and, like, pay already just because you're like, okay, I got into a school, or?
So, yeah. So for me, it was, I said yes for several reasons. I was going to school as a civil engineer, majoring as a civil engineer. So, it's one of the most, it's like one of the, it's like up there, top ranked schools, and for engineering schools. So I was like, okay, well, that's definitely a reason why I should go. Another thing too, it's Cal State, so it wasn't as expensive as UC,
or private
right, or private, and so that was pretty much the reasons why. And a friend had already gone there, and he told me he liked it, so I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. I'm sure I'll like it too. That's
kind of weird.
What?
So if If I like Coke, you like Coke too.
Like the soda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, why did you go to Cal Poly, Eddie? Why did you choose to?
My brother went there. My brother-in-law went there.
Also,
So I kind of knew the campus prior in my taller years. And I was a late bloomer, honestly. I didn't start caring about school till like my sophomore, junior year. Because that's where I decided I didn't know what to do, honestly, after high school. So, I mean, the part where I grew up, where I was born and raised, it was never about, pursuing higher education. It was just more like, you graduate and then you get a job. That was our style of living. But I just wanted to do something different, and I started caring more about school my junior year. That's where I started taking honors classes, and then I started taking just like school seriously in general. And then I was like, well, 3.0 and above to go to any school that you wanted. And I told Anthony in our previous episode that UCLA was my dream school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was a baby Bruin at heart. Everybody in my family was USC. But I remember my brother Caesar took me to a college tour to UCLA. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty cool. Like I went like all UCLA'd out. I remember he bought me my football jersey, and like I was just gold and blue all over. And so it kind of hurt me because I knew I had potential. I just didn't know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And it was all late for me. So Cal Poly was one of the last schools I ever heard from, and I was just like, let's go.
So what was your college experience like during your first year?
My first year, not necessarily like basic, but it was a hard transition for me. I'm a person that doesn't really like change. Is really hard for me. Mm-hmm. So I ended up living on campus for 4 years out of my time at Laverne, and separating and moving out on that first day gave me a real big life lesson. And I learned a lot that first day. First of all, that I love my mom dearly, and she's like one of my best friends ever. And my brother is too, so it was really hard for me to not be living with them anymore. Yeah. My second life lesson was that always remember to pack everything and make a list, because I forgot my shoes. And I had junk lists on my first day that broke. So, like, I didn't have any shoes. We had to run real quick to go get me some shoes to last me until we could get my shoes over here. Mm-hmm. And my third lesson was, like, don't get scammed by T-Mobile people when you break your phone, because I broke my phone and it fell. And it was right after my mom had left from helping me unpack everything, and I had to call from my roommate's phone, who I barely knew, and be like, Mom, I need a new phone.
That's how you met him?
Yeah, no, it was, like, it kind of was, like, a terrible first day, and it was also, like, it was the day of my 18th birthday, too, so it was just, like, an overall kind of really interesting day. Yeah. But it's taught me really big 3 life lessons, and, again, my phone broke, and I chose a really bad phone that I had to stick with till most of college, but it taught me a lot. My first transition and first year, but what really helped me a lot was one of my best friends. Her name is Ro, and she's a very outgoing and talkative person, so she had known people from our spotlight weekend that we both went to, and she's like, come on, let's go, like, let's go do things, let's go here, let's go there. So she really helped me kind of explore the world of college. So, like, go to parties, we tried a lot of clubs, and we kind of just went to a meeting a piece, and if we really didn't like it, we're like, okay, well, we don't have to go back. She had an on-campus job, and I had never worked on campus, and I didn't end up doing it during my college career, but she, like, knew people on campus, and, like, she really got me out there, or else I probably would have stayed in my room crying every night because I miss my family so much.
She guided you along the way.
Yeah, she really, really helped me, and our bond really, really grew because of that, and I think without her help and without me being able to get exposed to all the things that I was exposed to that year, I don't think I would have enjoyed college as much or gotten into where I'd gotten into and kind of chose my path that I have now. Mm-hmm. That year was a really, really, like, influential year for me.
Yeah. Right. I think the first year of college is always interesting, to say the least, for everyone. It's a very, very brand new experience. I was similar to Lauren in the sense that it was very hard for me on move-in day, just emotionally. Mm-hmm. I grew up with just my mom my whole life. She's my rock. I love her to death, and it was really hard to know that I wouldn't be seeing her as often. But I was also opposite to Lauren in the sense that I very, 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 very much over prepared. Like, I was making lists all summer long to make sure I didn't forget anything. I had like too much of everything, but it's okay. I'm still kind of like that. I'm an over preparer, but
That's why
so
we like balance. It's
yeah.
a good balance. You'll always be prepared, and you're always so reliable or dependable.
Thank you. But just in general, I feel like my first year was a little bit difficult because I was trying to get used to really being on my own. I feel like I was a very responsible person from a very young age, so I didn't need anyone reminding me to do my homework or to study. Like, I was on top of all of that, but I feel like I isolated myself because I was so concerned about, just making sure I was getting straight A's and being the best student possible, because in high school, that's what we're taught to do, right? Like, you need to get a 4.0, you need to be the best student. So I kind of was still in the same mentality, and I didn't really realize that, being in college is a good place to explore, find out what you're interested in, join some clubs, meet new people. So my first year, I honestly didn't do that. It wasn't until, luckily, one of my very good friends encouraged me. She was my friend from work, and she encouraged me to join another organization that I decided to finally start branching out. And from there, my college experience changed dramatically.
And can we know what organization this was?
So I joined Hermanas Unidas de UCLA.
Whoop, whoop. Right.
Did you feel like when you found that organization, did you kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out on something? Like, why did I spend my entire first year?
Yeah, because I actually knew about Hermanas since Bruin Day. I remember when I went to Bruin Day, or it was either Bruin Day or the first week of school. But
they spotted you or what?
Yeah, like I went up to them because I was like, oh my gosh, there's like girls that are Latinas. They look like me. That's cool. Hermanas Unidas, what is that? And I signed up for their newsletter. So like my whole first year, I was always getting their newsletter. But I never went to a meeting because, UCLA is such a huge place. It's really nerve-wracking to go somewhere where you don't know anyone, And I was really young. I had just turned 18 when I started college. So like literally a few weeks before I started college. So I was just really nervous. Through my job, I met my really great friend Noemi, who ended up becoming my big in HAU. But she, I basically told her that I knew about Hermanas and I wanted to be more involved in something on campus. Mm-hmm. And so one day she finally told me, okay, get ready. I'm going to take you to your first meeting. And I went, and that was the best decision I could have made, honestly, at UCLA.
Would you say that it helped you along your way, like throughout your college career? Yeah,
because the major I was studying, it was super hard. It was linguistics and psychology. Not a lot of people even know what linguistics is. I didn't know what it was, honestly, when I signed up.
Well, what is it?
Linguistics is a study of languages, basically.
Okay.
It's just very hard, and everyone in the major was so competitive too. For some reason, like, everyone was extremely competitive. So anyways, being in Hermanas, even though there wasn't anyone who could, maybe help me with homework or whatever, just having that environment where I was feeling supported, and I genuinely felt like they were my hermanas, like, I knew I could count on them for anything. Like, if I was staying up late studying for my linguistics test, there's likely somebody else staying up late studying for something else, and just having someone there, makes a huge difference in trying to get through it on your own.
That support,
Yeah,
having
definitely. It's the support. Yeah. It's hard to get through anything without feeling like you're supported, And not just that, I feel like in Hermanas, I felt supported, I felt loved, I honestly felt like I could do anything as long as my Hermanas were supporting me and believing in me.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I really would advise people to do throughout their college experience is join a club, sure.
Oh, yeah, get involved in some sort of way or fashion. I think that kind of helps you settle into, it helps you grow as a person, who you want to be, your morals, and then you get to meet other people the same way, and connections.
And there's always people in the organization who are older than you, right? Because there's got to be, the e-board or whatever it's called in your organization. And so they're going to have more experience about getting through your university, like they'll give you tips on, these are some job opportunities, or these are some volunteer opportunities, or these are some other orgs you can join. Like, they can just give you, they're literally like your older siblings, they're helping you get through this very difficult process.
Oh, yeah. For me, because me and Eddie were part of Hermanos Unidos.
Yes, sir.
Cal Poly. During my time there, they had several workshops when it comes to building your resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had one of the hermanos there. His name was Kevin. He helped me out building my resume. And honestly, like I say this to everybody that asks me about my club. If it wasn't for him and him helping me out, I don't think I would have gotten my internship at the city of Anaheim. So I'm honestly really grateful for being part of that club and having that support system to help me out with that.
Yeah, totally. I think another thing too that you don't realize when you're joining an organization is that there's a whole alumni network there too.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that is so valuable. But that's also, I think, a big thing about organizations. I mean, I know it differs for everything, but at least from my experience, you're going to get out what you put in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I personally put in a lot into being in Hermanas because I was passionate about it, and the more that I put into it, the more I got out of it. I started meeting alumni and just being involved in so many really, really great opportunities.
And what about you, Lauren?
I was part of, I kind of got my groove, and I was part of an organization called Latino Student Forum. I don't think it was necessarily as organized as kind of like Hermanas or Hermanos would be, but it was a club that I really found my group of people, and I found my kind of like sense of identity as a Latina in college and stuff like that. I struggled a little bit because I'm half Cuban and my mom is an immigrant and I'm a first generation college student, but in my life I kind of grew up with, oh, you're not Latina enough, you're not fluent in Spanish, so like you don't know how to cook authentic Cuban food, and I don't know how to cook in general, so that didn't really apply to me. But like I always had to prove that, and I felt like when I joined LSF it was really like, hey, you're Cuban, like we don't know very many Cubans, like teach us what you know. And I felt really kind of like appreciated and like, oh yeah, I am a strong Latina. I may not look it, or I may not be fluent in Spanish, but it's still part of my identity and my culture, and I think I was really able to celebrate that. But that organization was kind of more focused on like social and cultural things, so like we wanted to kind of build that community on Laverne's campus, because Laverne is considered a Hispanic serving institution, which is kind of like they get helping and funding because more than 25% of the population identify as Hispanic or Latino. And at Laverne, when I was going there, 48% of the population identified as Hispanic or Latino. So there's a large population there of all their students being like this, but we didn't really have like a group that celebrated the culture of being a Hispanic or Latino. So that's kind of what we were to do. Like, I learned so many things about so many other Hispanic cultures other than my Cuban upbringing. Like, my friends introduced me to like elotes and esquites and all that stuff. So I got more of like a social cultural thing than like an academic support. Yeah. I think my academic support really came from my group of friends that I had. I not necessarily considered like harder, but like my workload was a lot heavier than a lot of my friends. So like I had to be the one that was like, nah guys, like I gotta study at some point. Or like sometimes I would admit I'd slack off and be like, no, I'm gonna keep the social event because right now I don't want to do algebra or whatever homework I was doing at the time. So I think for me it was a little different, but I think I wish I would have created that in like LSF, because eventually at some point I was actually president for my junior year.
That's awesome.
And it was surprised how it happened, but I ended up becoming president, and I was really into celebrating not just because we were known as the Mexican club, and I didn't want to be the Mexican club. I wanted to be Latino. That was in our name. So like I was focused on celebrating all Latin cultures, and I think I should have, now looking back on it, I should have been able to also do that academic support. I think people need a lot more academic support. And even like alumni support. Our alumni connections are very few and far between. But I feel like if I would have known of other orgs like that had such a strong academic or a strong alumni and strong academic support, then I feel like I totally would have kind of tried to transform the organization into something like that, because I felt like that would have been super beneficial to my experience at Laverne.
Right.
So, so far it's pretty good what you guys are actually sharing, but I think for me there was a certain point in college where I felt like college wasn't for me. So I guess my question to you girls would be, did you guys ever feel like you know, like college wasn't for you? Like, just like not obviously, but like,
Yeah.
was there a point where you were like, you know, like,
I can't do
fuck
this, or
this,
what?
I can't do this, or
Yeah.
like, you know what,
Oh,
like,
all the time.
or like just like a little stumble on the way. Like I said, it doesn't have to be academic probation.
Yeah.
It could just be like, you know, like failing a class and being like,
Like,
fuck
what
that, I'm
am
not
I
gonna
doing
take
here?
it, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna go ahead and redo this.
Yeah, I think something that's notable about Lauren and I is that Lauren is a Latina in STEM, and there's not very many, and I was a Latina in linguistics, and there's not very many. So I think, like, sometimes, I don't know about you, Lauren, but I would literally be sitting in a class, and I was the only Latina there, and I was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I would not even understand what the lecture was about.
Mm-hmm.
Half the time I couldn't do my homework without going to office hours because I was literally just so confused. I was just sitting in classes to take notes. So I think there was definitely moments where I was like, what am I doing here? But I would never say that I felt to the point where it was like, I don't belong here. I think maybe there was a little part of me that says, well, maybe I don't fit in here. But I think I felt so strongly about, well, I'm gonna make myself fit in here. I'm not gonna let these people try to kick me out, or you know, sometimes counselors advise you, like my very first year I had a counselor advise for me to switch universities. And that
Why?
yeah, because so I want to be a speech language pathologist. I knew that from the beginning. To apply to a master's program, which you need to have a master's degree to be an SLP, you already have to have basically your undergrad in SLP, because there's some certain courses you need to take before getting into a master's. So obviously at UCLA they didn't have an SLP major, so I chose linguistics and psychology because that's the closest I could get to getting experience. So like it was honestly even my first month, I went to a counselor and she told me, she's like, you know, there's some really great other universities that you could go to pursue a bachelor's degree in speech pathology. And I don't think she meant to be rude. It was good advice, you know. I mean, it probably would have ended up saving me money in the long run. But it just felt crazy to me that this lady who's supposed to guide me through UCLA is trying to get me out of there. Like, instead of helping me, you know, think and be like, okay, well, what can I do at UCLA to help prepare myself for that? She just automatically told me, oh, no, you need to get out of here. So I think that really stuck with me. So the whole time that I was at UCLA, I was determined to show them that, like, no one's going to take me out of here. I'm going to show you all that I'm going to graduate. And I ended up doing it in 3 years. And I've always been proud of that, because it's just like, no one's going to tell me where I belong and where I don't belong. I get to choose that myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a really strong motivation. And I had some Hispanic people in my math classes, but I noticed that support and that kind of like motivation and like, I guess like not motivation, but like you feel like support and you feel like, oh, I identify with like the staff of your school. And I think that really helps when you see representation. There we go. That's the word.
Right. Yep.
And well, first of all, I chose a major that's hard. I chose pure mathematics. Like, that's not, I thought, you know, I was really pretty good in math, you know, all the way up. I eventually learned that, you know, I do have to work a little harder at it, but I love it. To me, it's problem solving and it's a puzzle, and I think it's super cool. But I never saw that representation in my staff. They were all 50 and above white men with maybe like 2 female Asian women as our staff members.
Right.
For a whole entire department.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I kind of felt beaten down. I was like, well, where's my representation?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck is the point? And surprisingly, a majority of, you know, my classmates were women, but we all shared that same passion of like, we don't see our representation, so we're gonna be that representation.
Right. Yeah.
And I think after my first class, I realized, like, A, I have really poor time management skills my sophomore year, and B, like, it's not always going to be a walk in the park. And I think some people think, you know, when you're a child, oh, they have a natural gift of reading or math, and I feel like that sometimes, like, gets a kid so excited and think that they don't have to work as much, when in reality they do. Like, again, kindergarten to, like, 12th grade, I was good at math. Like, it wasn't a subject I had to focus too hard on. It was something that kind of came natural, and I will forever remember this class. Calculus 2 kicked my butt. It was, integration was super, super hard for me, and like derivatives. It was just a really hard subject. And I had my advisor as my professor that year. And he was one of those professors of like, your grade counts for your midterm, your final, and I give you quizzes to maybe see if you can work and do the work. But here are homework assignments that aren't mandatory. I'm going to be in here in class to answer any questions that you have on the homework that you may or may not do.
Oh, wow.
He never taught us anything. So I had never experienced a class where no one ever taught me anything. I was so used to the traditional, lecture examples, and that's how I learn. I like looking at someone do something and then like kind of mimicking the same theories until I can get the theory and the concept down. And he didn't do that. So I failed miserably. And it took a real big, strong, like, hit to, what I wanted to do. At some point, I honestly thought about changing majors. But I was already in my second year. I had taken a lot of, like, the beginning courses for STEM. So, like, I couldn't change without adding another year on or another, like, 2 years on to my degree, which I didn't want to do. I couldn't afford to do that. Yeah. So I ended up, really thinking, and I was like, I'm going to stick with it. Like, I'm going to be that representation. I'm going to have to work a lot harder at it, but that's okay. Like, that's part of what this higher education is. It's a struggle, but you're learning so much. And I learned how to get used to professors who are like, hey, here's everything, and, like, you have to teach yourself. Right. And I had to get used to that. But I think it eventually made me a stronger person because of it. And it really taught me a lot about who I am and skills that bettered me overall in my experience.
Just to wrap it up here, I just wanted to say that, you guys are very inspiring, throughout the things that you guys have told us here today. Thank you for sharing your stories. Again, it was a pleasure having you guys here. And I guess we just have one last question. What is your advice to any Latina out there that's in college right now, that's going through the same, the same process and everything? Again, what would
troubled
be your
high school?
Right. Who's in high school is going through this process of getting into college, or is in college right now and doesn't know what they're doing. So just what would be your piece of advice?
I think my piece of advice, which is something I'm even trying to still learn, is to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's when you reach like your end of your comfort level. Like, go out there and experience a new organization or experience something that you want to do. A couple of my friends had degree struggles and like major struggles, so I was like, why don't you just try a class that is unconventional and that you're just interested in, and see if that sparks, a career change. Like, any kind of class that maybe sparks like a change that you want to commit to, and I just lean into being uncomfortable, because I think when you are uncomfortable, you experience the most growth within yourself, and you discover more about yourself that I think is going to lead you to the person that you're going to want to be, and the career path and the goals that you're going to want to accomplish.
Right.
I think the biggest piece of advice I would have for anyone out there is just work hard. I don't think anything that's worth anything in life comes easily. I think that if you want something, you got to work for it. Just because you want something doesn't mean you're going to get it easily. But if you want it bad enough and you work hard enough, you'll achieve it. No matter what situation you're in. If you're a student right now and you are struggling, you don't know, how to study for a test or whatever, ask for help. There's nothing wrong in asking for help. But you got to put in that extra effort to make your dreams become a reality, because no one is going to hand you just anything that you want. And if you do get handed stuff, you're very lucky, because there's a lot of us out here who have to, work hard, hustle all the time. But by doing that, you're going to be able to accomplish so many things. And I think that in the long run, the things that you work hard for are the things that you value the most and that you're most proud of.
Yeah, and you're going to appreciate, I think, in the long run, everything that you've accomplished when you look back on everything that you really, really worked hard for.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ladies, again for being on this lovely podcast of Bravado Talk.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to our listeners, if you guys have any other questions, before we say our goodbyes, where can our listeners find you guys at?
I am on Instagram. I would say that the page to reach out to me to, the best one would be my Instagram page called @LatinaSLP2B, where I am documenting my journey as a first generation and immigrant student becoming a speech language pathologist. I am very passionate about helping others, so I would be more than happy to help anyone who has any questions about higher ed, education, or just anything in general, honestly.
Can you just spell that out?
Yes, so it's @LATINASLP, the number 2, and then BE. Latina SLP2B.
Yes, and you can also find me on Instagram as well. I currently don't have the handle yet, but I will be starting my own first year middle school teacher page because I am a first year middle school STEM teacher. So that will be Mrs. H Teaches Middle. And that will be open and ready, hopefully once this podcast comes out. And I, again, also will be answering any higher ed questions, if you want education questions, anything kind of like that, and documenting my experience as a first-year teacher, especially during these very interesting times and during, everything going on.
All right. Thank you, ladies. For our regular listeners, thank you for tuning in this episode 6.
Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and you can listen to this podcast at Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.